All right, let's do a sound check. You guys should all be able to hear me. That looks good. So I will give people a couple minutes to show up, and then we'll get going. Sundays are for labs, so we're just gonna run through and do just absolute beginner Linux. You know, just people that want to get into the industry, people that want to start doing this more professionally than just some hobby. That's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna start figuring out, same thing that we do a lot of days. I have the stuff up on the right for the Socratic stuff in case we get stuck. Movie time and Cypher, how's it going? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. Movie time, that's funny. My closed captioning does the best it can do, but still just Microsoft on the back end. All right. As we start this up, I want to let you guys know we're less than a week away. In fact, I really should be working on my damn project, my discussion, because we've got talks all next week, and I've been kind of making sure all the guys are doing their stuff, but I haven't gotten around to doing my own, so I got to put mine together. I won't do it today on stream, but so check it out. Here's the event next week. The times are in Arizona time, but if you're like, oh shoot, what time is it for me? All you got to go is into Discord and go to events, and you will see it in your time. It'll be your exact time. Yeah, Minecraft server. All right, so here's what the events kind of look like. I'm gonna kick it off with a little talk on calling why engineering, and we're just gonna go into what engineering entails, what it is, why we want to be engineers. I mean, there's the money reason, there's the fame, there's the it should say down there, blows a raspberry. If you guys have ever watched like closed captioning when somebody goes, that's anyways. All right, so let me pull myself up. I put myself on here. So I'm going to talk about why engineering, like why do you want to be an engineer, like what is engineering, just all that stuff. I'm calling that talk why engineering. And then Timotheus is going to come on. That's my brother Tommy. M-Pesa is going to come on and talk about eBPF. So we just got like a full day of anybody that wants to come and listen to different people that are out in the industry. All of these people are successful, like they're in the industry, they are moving up positions. Actually, everybody on that first day, well, aside from me, I've been in the same position for like the last 10 years, but they are constantly moving up, all the rest of them. Reason I don't move up anymore is because there's nowhere else for an engineer to go. Like they have to make me management to promote me anymore. So I just kind of hang out and do what I do. How's it going, Jen Gifton? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are talking about just 2 days of virtual talks. It's our 5 years on Discord and 10-year anniversary as a professional Linux users group. Although I tell you guys, like in the early years of us doing the group, I really just suspect it was my friends coming over to have pizza on Saturday nights because we would just hang out and do Linux. But yeah, there was anywhere between like 3 and maybe like 12 of us at any given time, and we'd just work on Linux projects and build stuff and get stuff, kind of get people doing this in the industry and building up skills. So that's that. The second day is going to be, we got Fishermen coming and Sending. They're both at a big cloud provider. They'll tell you about where they're at. Ben is a economics professor at a big college in California. He'll tell you about that. And then Jared's going to talk data stuff. Jared's stuff, everybody always loves Jared's stuff. How's it going, Robodom? Jared's like one of, everybody always loves him because he comes in, he's got good energy, but he really explains what he does and how analytics works with Google. He's got some of his stuff's been integrated with like Google Tag Manager, and like he's had like little, I forget what they call their apps over there, but he's had 2 of them integrated into like Google. He's talked to rooms full of like 500 Facebook employees before. I haven't told you guys that before, but he's been like really big on like tracking and analytics and stuff, so they use him a lot with different companies he's been with. But yeah, all these guys they're all like leaders in their field. Jared's really involved with a tool out there called Measure Slack. So if any of you guys have ever been involved with Slack in general, there's a thing out there called Measure Slack. So anyways, I want you guys to know there's that event coming up. It's free. Nobody's going to charge you nothing. Nobody's going to, make you come. Nobody's going to take attendance. I'm not going to keep track of who came. That's just for you guys that want to come hang out and talk with the group and maybe meet some engineers. People are always talking on our Discord about like finding jobs and what kind of jobs are out there and stuff. And I would tell you, if you're looking to get in the industry or if you've been laid off, come talk to those guys and see what they got. So, see what they do and see if, because I'm convinced that like Linux engineering as a whole is just a good a good vehicle to jump off into other types of engineering. This is kind of like our base in systems engineering. So, all right, that's enough of me talking like that. We're going to do labs all morning and just labs and Linux, and we're going to do absolute beginner command line Linux. If you've never even touched a Linux system before, we're going to go in and make them talk to each other, do all this kind of stuff. So, Robodom said, always fun hearing from Jared. Yeah, Jared will tell you he's a copy-paste expert. He's like, the thing I get paid for is I know what to copy and paste. But yeah, for the most part, he just copies and pastes stuff off the internet. No, he knows what he's doing. Don't let him fool you. He's pretty good at what he does. All right, so we're gonna do absolute beginner command line Linux, but we're gonna start in some of our. We're still gonna do while we're doing absolute beginner command line Linux. We're also gonna work through some labs. So we're gonna treat it like it's the first time any of us have ever touched a server, but we're gonna use that to build out some of these different pieces still. So I'm going to start us with, we haven't done any of these lately, so we're going to do our monitoring labs today. So I'm going to start out by pinning this for you guys on the Twitch side. So there it is pinned. I'll leave it until I manually unpin it. And on the YouTube side, there's that. And then I got to move it up to pin it because the terrible UI choices that they've made to put the little stupid heart thing over the damn. It's silliness. How's it going, Salty? We are working on, we're doing labs, but we're treating it like we've never touched a Linux system before. So for people who are new or want to pretend like you've never touched a Linux system before, what we're doing here is we're dropping into a shell. I've pinned the shell if anybody wants to go in, and you get dropped into just a command prompt, right? You know nothing about Linux. You're just sitting here with me waiting to go, right? This is how's it going, Gabriel, over on YouTube side? Hopefully this stuff's useful. We are going to we're just going to treat this like it's our first time ever in a Linux. That's the goal of this. And Cayenne Guru, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Let's look at this. So we're at a shell. This is a prompt. This is what we call a command prompt right here. This represents the terminal waiting for input, right? There's three things that can happen at this terminal. There's only three things that can happen at this terminal. We can send data in. That's called standard in. It can send data out to us in two forms. The first one is standard out, meaning nothing went wrong. And the second one is standard error, which is something did go wrong. So standard input looks like this. Right? This is standard input. And the system's going to interpret that in some way through commands and other things. And it's going to send that back out to us in standard output, right? Like if you know nothing about Linux, that's the first thing that you should probably know is you're playing like a game. It's almost like a game of ping pong, back and forth. I'm sending something to the terminal's sending something back out to me, right? This is across Linux platforms, Cisco networking platforms. If you're in Unix style systems, it's the same game. You're either watching a terminal for output or you're sending messages in and getting data out. So to that point, I typically say there's only two things you do in the command line. You set values and you check values. That's pretty much all you do. And when I say you set values, you can set things to run and then they can go set values. But at the end of the day, that's really all it is, right? It goes back to that computer science idea of input, process, output. Those are the three things. And process can be transform and aggregate and whatever, collate and fucking whatever. But input, process, output, right? That's what we do. Cypher said, I'll start in minutes. Want to get warning when it rolls over. Okay. Good. So, but this can error, right? I can say something like this, which is a command that's not a command, and the system will error in some way. In this sense here, it captured what was going on and gave me, hey buddy, you could do this, but it didn't execute what I wanted. Or if I did something like this, you know, and it's catching errors and that kind of stuff. But we're at a basic command line. We can type clear at any time to clear the screen up to empty. And we're in what's called a bash shell. And you say, well, how do you know it's a bash shell? Well, if we echo out $shell, it'll tell us the shell that we're in. We're in what's called the bash shell. Bash is the born again shell. There are corn shells. There are C shells. There are just the basic shell, SH. But for the most part, in most modern Linux, you're using the born again shell bash, right? So, and it's I think it's BORNE. I think that's it. I'm not 100% sure. There's no I on there. What the hell? All right. So we echo things in and we get values out. And what this is doing, when we say echo tells the system to do something and post it out to the output. In this case, we're asking for it to show us the contents of a variable denoted by the $sign shell, right? There's a shell variable out there. If we want to see all the variables that exist for our environment, we can type in env. It'll dump a whole bunch of environmental variables. They come out in key value format, and you say, what the hell's a key value? Well, over here is what the thing is. Here's SSH_client. That's the label on the variable. And here's the contents of that variable. So it's almost like there's a box sitting in the corner, and you've got a label on the box, and you say, hey, bring me the SSH client box. I'm going to unpackage it and look what's in it. That's all it is, right? And then you've got all these different things in here, and you can set them. Like our home right now is /root, which determines how we move around in the system and stuff, right? Okay, so we're in this command, we're in this system. We've never been in a system before. We can clear the screen up so that we can see it. We know that we're in a shell called bash. We know that we can send commands in and get commands out. At the very base system, that's what we need to know to kind of get started on the lab. We are also a user. We enter the system as some type of user. We can see who that is with ID. We can say, who am I? To kind of identify ourselves and start to figure out what we can do in the system. Some more advanced things that we can do, but it's still super useful. Yeah, Robdom, that's fine. You don't have to hang out. We're just kind of working on stuff and doing Linux, right? But for people that have never been in a system here, right here, I can say, again, a little bit more advanced. What are my permissions? Sudo is a way to become, it's a substitute user where we become a more, typically a higher user. And I can say, what permissions do I have? Well, I would just do a -L like this, but let's say like this. And it'll say that the permissions that I have are to do anything because I'm the root user. And any other user that comes into the system is going to see less permissions than this. And I can also check what can these other people do by just putting their name there, right? So it's very straightforward. Like Linux and command line in general, it can be kind of daunting to people. It's like, oh man, I'm literally just looking at this blank screen with, it's a dark screen with white or green letters, and I don't even know where I want to go from here. I don't even know what to start. Well, this is how we get our start. We just start going in there. We start doing basic commands and understanding that there are things that are destructive on the system and there are things that are not destructive. And once we kind of start figuring out those differences, we can figure out what's going on. Like I can't just type reboot here and not expect this to do something bad to the system, right? It'll reboot it and I'll probably lose my terminal window and probably have to reset and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so we're at a basic command line, and then this lab, if you ever hop into any of our labs, I've got this one here, they'll have the instructions on the left. So I've given you kind of the base little primer of Linux here. We've told you we're on a server. Server will tell you its host name. Who am I will tell you who you are on that server, and then we can start kind of doing the lab. Cyberlanka, hi Scott, thanks for taking time to make these videos. Keep up the good work. Thanks. Wishing you all the best. Nice. Cyber, yeah, I appreciate that. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. We do labs on Sundays. This is what we do. We hang out. Yesterday I was kind of building stuff out in Werewolf. Today I was like, well, let's just do absolute beginner stuff. Let's just start with, hey, we're on a system. Here's the commands we can do. Here's the things. We are a user in a system, and You know, we get to start telling the system what to do. So if I start wanting to look around this system, right, I can do a PWD and see the directory that I'm logically in. You logically exist inside of the system in some directory. So I am in the root directory. If I do commands in here with no arguments given to them, then what will happen is it'll execute against this directory. What do I mean by arguments? So if I ls in here, I'll see the file system. I'll see all the entries that are in this directory, right? ls, which lists the directory. But I didn't give an argument. An argument looks like this. So you've got the basic breakdown of a command is you've got the command over here, list, right? List the contents of a directory. And now I've explicitly given the argument of root. I want to see the root's home directory, which is /root. And that's going to do that. Now, when you do a slash at the beginning of an argument like this, in a path, that's what we call an absolute path. An absolute path is absolute. It's always correct. And I'll give you an example of the difference between those in a second. But suffice it to say that this will show me this no matter where I logically exist with that PWD command. And the way I always explain to people is this. Like, I've got this water bottle sitting here, right? And somebody says, you know, I call somebody up and I say, hey, where's my water bottle at? And then that person says, well, the water bottle's sitting right in front of you, Scott. And I go, oh, there it is. All right, there's my water bottle. It's right in front of me. If you told me that, then what I need to know to be able to find my water bottle is where I am. Now, that might sound kind of silly, but in the systems world, it makes sense. Local to where you are, this is going to be able to work. So what I mean by that is if you said, hey, Scott, it's if I said, where's my water bottle, and you gave me like GPS coordinates, it wouldn't matter where I am. I could be in Chicago right now, and I would still know exactly where my water bottle is because you told me the exact location to it. The reason that matters is this. If I want to see the contents of this directory, but I happen to have moved over to this other directory, and I do an ls, I am no longer seeing the contents of the root directory. And if I say ls root right here, I will not find the root directory of this system. There's no root local to this, like this is a relative path. Relative to where I am, go to root. But if I say absolutely from the root of the file system, there's a whole bunch of roots going on here, then find me that. It'll always find it no matter where I am in the system. So people always ask, like, why would you use absolute or why would you use relative pathing? Well, relative pathing is when you know where you are logically, and absolute pathing is where you don't care about any of that, you just want to be right. And you might say, well, why would you do a script one way or the other? Well, a lot of that depends on what you're doing and where you expect a script to be executed from. Like, if I'm giving a script to somebody else, I am not going to have absolute paths to, like, home, Scott, and then some other pathing, because then when they go to execute in their directory, it's not going to work. I would instead have my script go find what path we're in and then unpackage itself and do whatever, you know, like that kind of stuff. So relative and absolute pathing trip people up when they first start. But at the end of the day, if you always want to be right within your own system, you just use absolute pathing. It's just that relative pathing is sometimes easy, but once you get used to it. So like I'm down in temp. I'm off of the root of the file system / and temp. I can go up one directory and I'm in the root of the file system. And then I can go down to root and I'm down in the root of the system. Then if I like make a directory in here called like lab, I can cd to lab, which is relative to where I'm at. Watch. So it's relative to where I'm at. I went down one directory. I'll show you what I mean by relative here in a second. And now I'm in here. Now, if I just cd to temp, am I going to get there? No. There's no temp relative to where I am. But if I cd to absolute temp, right, we're using an absolute path off of root, it'll get me to temp. So watch this real quick. I cd back to / and then I'm here. Can I ls directly into lab? Or can I cd directly into lab? No. But I can cd directly into root lab, and that'll take me there. So that's an absolute path. And that's a directory structure all the way off of the root of the file system, right? And then once I'm in here, pwd, I can go up one directory and up one directory. The ... always denotes going to the parent directory. And then I'm back here. And then if I ever get lost in the system, I can always just do cd and it will take me back home. Always take me back home. By the way, look, I got a little error here because that's standard error because my system didn't know. It's like, what were you trying to do there, buddy? That command's not found, right? Now, the commands are not just executing because they exist and the system knows where they are. There are variables that I have that tell my system where to look for commands. So if I echo like $path, it'll tell me these are all the places your system is going to look to find that pwd command. So if I say which pwd, my system will tell me user bin pwd, which here's user bin, was in the path, and that's where it found that command to execute. So let's do this real quick, just to kind of prove that point. Let's pwd, let's go down into lab, and then here I'm going to touch, ls. I'm going to touch a script in here called ls. That's all I'm going to give it. And I'm a VILS, and I'm going to say echo, you thought this was ls, but it was me, Geo. All right. And then I got a chmod that I got to make that executable. The system has to know what to do with it. Don't worry if you're not following along with this part. I'm just kind of going right now. Don't worry about it. And now I'm down here. If I type ls in here, it's still gonna run the ls command. But if I say from this directory execute ls, it's gonna say, oh, you thought this was ls, but it was me, Geo. I don't know if anybody knows what that's from, but Mike Smitty said, many blessings and thanks for sharing and educating. I'm hoping to elevate career into HPC engineering and get into AI ML career path. Mike, we've got a guy who, one of our two people, hold on. So one of these guys, look, I know I'm talking about this a lot, but this is next weekend and I don't want people to miss it. Fisherman's going to come, and he's not talking about cloud topics. He's changed his thing. He just passed the AWS AI. There's like a new cert from AI. And he's going to come in and talk about being an AWS solutions architect and generative AI within that platform. So if you're really interested in doing that stuff, I would tell you this is like a don't miss type thing, because he's going to be showing you stuff. Yeah, this is actually, he fixed this. Discuss the role of an AWS solutions architect. He came a few years back. He was with our group when he got hired over there. And he has done a good job of, like, he came and explained to everybody what the process looks like of getting hired. And if you want to go get into an AWS role, what you should do. Because he played the game and it only took him about 2 weeks to get hired over there, which some people take longer. What is generative AI? Can it be used for systems administration? That's interesting. Could we plug a system administrator up, kind of like our little chat bot, and figure this stuff out and do the same thing as me? He's going to do large language, large language models, and how the Discord bot leverages Olama. So our little Discord bot is something Fisherman wrote. And then he's going to do AI image generation. He's going to show you how you can generate these little guys. So if you are interested in AI ML, I would not miss his stuff. I think it's going to be really good. And then Coker, thanks for coming by. We're just talking stuff, right? We're doing basic Linux stuff, right? AI is pretty slick at Bash Cypher. I'm interested to see, like, I think it will. So I think it'll do really good. Like if you plugged it in and just were like, hey, make sure all these systems are similar. But then again, we have tools that do that stuff. Like, we have tools that can go query everything and then put it up on a dashboard. So we don't really need a junior engineer doing that stuff anymore. I tell people all the time, if stuff worked out of the box, the salesperson would set it up. But they need engineers because of the variability of systems and the questions that come up and understanding how things work. And I mean, if you ever look at how, like, AI does things, it's very obvious it doesn't know, like, what hands are and, like, what wheels are, and like it doesn't have, there's no understanding behind what it's building most of the time. So where I'm going with that is, I think it's kind of like the chess problem. Chess is not a known set yet because there's too many things that can happen. And I think advanced engineering and systems administration is still going to fall into that. Oh, basic stuff? Oh, could it beat me at, like, writing up an Ansible playbook that goes and reboots 1,000 machines? Oh, absolutely, it could beat me at that. It'd do that like that. Whereas I would have to go find my playbook that I wrote years ago for that, right? But would it be able to, like, go remediate the 3 servers that didn't do what it's going to do right? I don't think it could do that as fast as me. It might be able to, right, over time, but I think like systems engineering problems are still going to be systems engineering problems. So I'm interested to see what Fisherman says. I'm not going to miss any of the talks. I think all of those talks are going to be excellent. I'm going to be hanging out the whole time down in the Discord while people are coming and talking about stuff. There's by the way, I mentioned this. There's 30-minute breaks in between each of them, so people have time to go do other stuff. And you only have to come to the ones you want to go to. But the point is, the guys are going to talk for between an hour and an hour and a half, and then they're going to take questions and stuff. So you guys are going to have time to get on there. Okay. Tire Dog said, "Hey Scott, can you teach me how to read data from various commands, especially from Proctor?" Yeah. So a lot of times, Tire, the stuff in Proc, right? I can tell you what's going on in Proc. Each one of these is the same process ID as the PID that you're looking at, but almost everything in here is designed to be read, not by you actually going in and looking at it. Like if I want to look at all those processes, that's the better way to do it, right? Look at how the processes are going. And if I want to see like how a process started, I might say ps-eo lstart, cmd, and then I'll see, okay, here's when the process started and here's how it was called. And then if I need that process ID back, I can put the PID back on it, right? And then I go grep for like SSH. And I want to know how SSH started on the system. Well, at this time, this is the command that was called, and here's the process ID for it. So then if I need to dig into that, like ps ef grep for 769, is that? I can see that. I can see the SSHD listener. I can do an lsof-I for, it's listening on port 22, I know that. So I can go see that the process ID for SSHD is listening for any, that's any IP address for IPv4, and that's any for TCP on port 22. And that mapping there comes from, let's see, services. You can change those names. So I could change this SSH to like stream. Watch this. Watch, I'll just change this SSH right here to stream. And then I'll, right here, see when I did my LSOF, it told me that it was SSH over here as the protocol. Watch this, it's like it's magic. Now it says stream instead. So my point is, everything in systems world, everything we do points somewhere else. Like it's all chutes and ladders, right? Like all these things are definable. We can change the things. We can go in and do all of this stuff. So, and Harvest, yeah, hey, how's it going? Yeah, things are going well. We do labs on Sunday, and I'm telling you guys that next week we got a pretty cool little thing coming up for all of our engineers. So if you want to come and hang out with people all day, it's free. You can just go hang out in there and come to any or all of them and just see what's going on in the industry. Maybe you're like, hey, I want to get into that data analytics stuff. We have like 5 people that are talking that are doing some type of data analytics in the industry. So, Coker said, hello, Scott. When are you doing a playlist or class on KCNA or KCS? I don't know what I can't see that last one because of the stupid chat. KCSA. So I don't have a KCNA or a KCSA cert, so I might not be able to do those. I do have a CKA and a CKAD, which are the Certified Kubernetes Application Developer and Administrator. I do have those. I have some good labs on those, I think. And then there's good labs up on Killer Code. We could do that sometime, Coker. I just might not be able to get to that this week because I'm working on so many other things. But like the hands-on side of Kubernetes, I can show you guys how to do. What I can't show you how to do is, I think the KCNA is just lower stuff anyways, but it's an exam. So like it's not hands-on like the other ones are. The hands-on ones are the ones that I prefer anyways, because then I'm just in there, you know, typing away like a madman, trying to get stuff working. All right, we got an ad. Well, it looks like the ad's starting. So let's start this lab up. I'm doing just like basic command line stuff and showing you guys like basic system stuff, but let's actually do some of the labs and knock them out. It says we got 38 more minutes in here to install and configure Grafana, and this one's going to be on monitoring Linux logs. We want to get Linux logs off of a server in near real time because there's 2 things that's really good for. It's good for security. We have the logs even if somebody tries to break our logs, And the other one, probably one of the more important ones, is we can do administration. We can check those logs and we can see what's going on, even if the server goes down, right? So let's start the lab. Your team is determined they need to offload and monitor Linux logs in your environment. You know that Grafana can do that as a visualization tool, so you plan to deploy it on the server as a daemon. Deploy Grafana and ensure that it's running on your server. All right, let's do that. So there's a Grafana docs that you can go read about, but you can just start installing the dependencies for stuff on here. Coker said that would be amazing. When can I look forward to that? Planning writing the CKAD late November. Well, Coker, while you're waiting, I do have, well, one, I have a couple of talks on that are up on YouTube, but also if you come down here to like my presentation stuff, you will find that I have put stuff up here on, yeah, like the CKA, Certified Kubernetes Administrator. And the CKA and the CKAD are only about maybe 20% different. They are very similar. The CKAD just focuses a little more on like how deployments happen and understanding like versioning and stuff. But this was one, I put this up back in May, but I put this together a couple years ago for people getting ready for their CKAs. And then, do I have another one on here? I got the Kubernetes presentation, like a 3-tier app, so you can build a 3-tier app. That's super useful for people that want to do their CKAD. And I'll do that one of these days soon. Yeah, maybe in the next week or so. And I always post stuff up in Discord when we're done with it too, just so you guys have it. All right, so look, we installed that. Let's install this other dependency. Dependencies are just things that are needed for, you know, Grafana to work or do whatever it says it's going to do. So we're here, we're hitting our buttons. Like, you can do these labs and you could just run through and watch what they do. Or you can think, okay, what am I doing? I'm running sudo. I don't need to run sudo on root, but I'm doing a wget, which is going and pulling something off the web. And I'm getting a -o, which is going to output to here, which is local in our key rings. It's going to be grafana.key. And I'm downloading the GPG key from Grafana. So now when I download that key, and then I set up my repository. So my repository is going to say, hey, signed by this key. That's the key I just downloaded. Anything I download out of Grafana stable main should be signed by that key. And I should then be able to verify that the key that I downloaded off of grafana.com matches the key that was signed against the packages in that repository. That's all it is. It's basically like if I called you and said, hey, you know, you're coming over, right? And you're like, yeah. And I said, hey, are you driving that red car out there? And you're like, yeah. And I go, oh, okay, I see you out front. That it would be like that. It's like an out of band channel to check that something is what we expect it to be. Anyway, so that's how like keys kind of work. Now I'm going to install Grafana Enterprise. And when this gets done, then we'll make sure that it's started. We'll make sure that it's, so we'll do a daemon reload. We'll start the Grafana server, and we'll make sure that it's running the way that we expect it to. All right. So if everything starts up, we'll see that right here. It'll start up good. And then we'll go check, is it running? It's running, but it's not listening on port 3000 yet. The first time you turn on Grafana, it takes 10 to 15 seconds to start listening. But when we go again, there it is, it's listening. So if it's listening, then we're good. We can connect to it, right, in our lab. We'll connect to our brand new Grafana instance. This didn't exist a few seconds ago. Now it does. We've got Grafana coming up on our system. We're going to log in with admin, right? Admin. We're going to put in, okay, good God, get the F out of the way. We're going to put a new password, and it's going to be super secure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. All right. We're in, right? Now we've got Grafana up on our system. That's part of this whole setup. So there's the default user, admin, password admin. I said feel free to look around the UI. We don't have that kind of time because I was talking earlier. So now it says our team is going to use the log aggregator, a tool called Loki. Your job is to get Loki up and running, and Loki's going to run on port 3100. So we got 3000 for Grafana, 3100 for Loki. We're going to make a directory for Loki. I like to put things that are not systems packages but still software down in opt. And we're going to cd to that opt Loki. And then we're going to go do curl and wget interchangeably to download the packages. So So if I look real quick here, I've got the downloaded zip, and then we unpackaged it, and we made the Loki executable on our system. That's what the chmod a+x did. And then we downloaded this Loki local config, which is like this basic little config that we can go look at. And it says right here, you need to comment the following lines out. We've got some errors in this. So we're going to come down here and we're going to get rid of this pattern ingester just for now. It causes us problems. And we're going to get rid of this front end stuff, right? Archie the developer, so are you the representative for the lug or the creator of it? I think I'm both. I did start the professional Linux users group about 10 years ago. And then I did start the Discord about 5 years ago. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I'm the guy who kind of runs it. Yep. But I just represent all those other people who you can learn a lot of good stuff from, I think, for people. And again, I try to hammer it a little bit, but these guys that are coming to talk, like, if we just go quick through them real quick, I'm a principal engineer, but you guys hear from me all the time, so nobody respects me, so that's fine. Tommy is, he's been a data analyst for about almost 3 years now? No, 2 years, but he's moved up like twice, so that's pretty good. M. Pessa is a senior site reliability engineer. He's a director of engineering, Robbie Reed is. He is a solutions architect for a company. He's actually a senior solutions architect. Ben is an economics professor, and he teaches at a big college out in California. Jared's a data architect, and then Sending Grounds is he calls himself a systems engineer, but he's been with AWS for 7 years now. He just passed his 7-year mark the other day, and that's a long amount of time to work for one of those big FANG things. So he's very good at automation and stuff, and that's what he's going to come and talk about. So yeah, I'm really just the I'm the guy who kind of just gets all the smart people together. But yeah, I've been doing Linux for 20 years and all that stuff. So let's start this daemon up. We did a daemon reload. That only restarts systemctl for how it looks at the service. And then we're going to look at the config file. And in the config file, we're not really changing anything besides what we pulled out. We're just sending stuff over to the local system, and Loki will be up and running. Okay, so then we come down here. We look at the Loki service, the super simple service. It calls that executable and calls our config file. That's all it does. We're going to turn it on, and we're going to check to make sure that it's listening. And it's not listening on that port yet. That worries me a little bit. Oh, we got a failure. See, this is why I check the labs every so often. Something's wrong with our lab. Okay, something's wrong in the lab. All right, we got to find out what's on line 21. All right, I got to fix the lab. Let's go look at the config. VI. Whoops. Set number. It says it's at line 21. I got rid of that, and I got rid of that. What the hell is this? Alright, we'll turn off the no pager so we can go read it. If we look over here, config expand environment true flag if you want to expand environment variables in your config file. I have no idea what they want with that. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to get rid of this because I literally have never seen this variable before. So we're going to get rid of it and see if we can start it. All right, there we go. Started. It's sometimes you just got to remove weird stuff. So, all right, we got it start. I might have to go change that and pull it out. They keep adding stuff to the config files that we're pulling down. I need to actually make it so we don't pull that config file down anymore. I'm just going to make it our own local config. I need to change that. I'll change that in the lab here in a little bit. All right, so we run it. Whoops, Q. And we run it, and there we go. Oh, and then down here, missing. Archie been using Arch for 5 years, starting out my career, still job hunting, not the reason for the name though. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, and I don't care, like, I'm not you'll find that I'm not like a Linux purist. Like, I don't care what people use. I think I think it's great that you use Arch Linux. I think it's great that you've been using it for years. One of the things you'll find me say often is if you do want to get a role in systems engineering, you have to do what it's almost like that Family Guy. Give the people what they want. You have to move over towards what the industry's doing. So like let's say you want to get into high performance compute. Red Hat, SUSE or SLES, which is SUSE Linux Enterprise Service or Server, and Ubuntu. Those are like the three you've got to start learning or using. So I don't care what people use. Like people comment all the time, "Oh, you're using Windows." Yeah, I'm just using it to get to Linux, right? It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, and it's this idea that like we wanna get paid for what we do, but people aren't using like, you know, I've got a skill that like nobody pays for. I've got this skill. I do this sport called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? But nobody pays for that. Nobody's gonna pay me to go do that, right? I learned all kinds of things in the infantry that I'll never get to use again, right? Because like you're not in the infantry anymore, right? So it's the same kind of thing. We've got to learn how, and I call it playing the game, right? It's the same thing with college. Like people are like, "Oh, college is hard." I'm like, no, you just gotta. It's like playing the game. You gotta like I have these posts I have to do every week for my college class, and there's 5 of them. And you go, that's a lot of posts. I just do one a day. Not bad. I have to force myself to do it every day, but it's like anything. It's like going to the gym. You got to just do it. So, gym or walk or whatever you do, right? I'm not going to prescribe that to you guys, but we've got Loki up. So what have we done in this lab? We've got Grafana up. We've got Loki up. Now we got to set Promtail up, and we've only got 26 minutes left in the lab. It says, in our research, we found that Promtail can push logs to Loki in real time. So that's cool. Let's do that real quick. We'll make a directory for Promtail. We'll move over to Promtail. I give you the commands so you don't have to spend time learning them, especially if you're newer. But some of you guys, make dir and CDs, pretty straightforward. We're going to download and unpackage that executable. So when we look at it, there's our executable for Promtail. Then we're going to copy in a config file that I've made for you. And all this one does is have 2 scrape configs. Scrape configs are just where we're going to pull information from. varlog syslog and varlog auth.log are the locations that Ubuntu Linux puts system messages and security messages. If you're in a Red Hat system, so if you're in like my home lab here, right? Oh, I'm on this box from last night still, or when I was on yesterday. If I cat my opt Promtail here, right? Oops, cd opt Promtail. In here in my home lab, my Promtail here is going to have a different, watch, it's going to show, it's going to be varlog messages and varlog secure, but in that same idea. And then what we're going to build out here in a second, some of you guys have been around and seen this, in my home lab, there's Ranger Dog, oh, freaking Ranger. Here's our logs. This is what we're about to build out in this lab, but this is my home lab. These are all the people that have tried to get into my system in the last 6 hours, right? So these are all the invalid logins and people that have gotten themselves kicked out forever. We're building basically that same thing in this lab, minus the kick out part. So it says, what do you notice about the config files? What are the scrape configs? What is the format? This is in YAML. This is YAML. When you see YAML, YAML is always key value pairs and then lists. So this is key value pairs down, job name syslog. Static configs becomes a list of targets, which is localhost, and labels, which is job syslog and path var syslog. So it's key value pairs. Rocky 9, yeah, I'm using Rocky in my werewolf environment here. Where's werewolf at? Yeah, so I'm on Rocky in a werewolf environment that allows me to just generate. I just generate lab servers so you guys can use them in the Prolog lab. Yeah, and also since Robodom couldn't hang out, there's our Discord if anybody needs it. I've been mentioning Discord a lot, and let me post that on the YouTube side of things too. So there's YouTube if any of you guys want to hop in the Discord. Again, it's free, so I'm not really selling anything, but next week we have a big set of talks from a bunch of different engineers, so different people in the industry. It's also our 5-year anniversary of being a Discord server, and it's our 10-year anniversary of being a professional Linux users group where we get together and we train people and we help them get ready. Our goal is to get people into the industry, right? Get people, like, we're all hobbyists. We all do this stuff for fun, but you can go and do this stuff professionally if you want to. And you can make pretty good money at it too, I think. Headfirst into SE Linux in my first home lab machine, and most afterwards was frustrating at first, but now it's okay. Yeah, Archie, I have a fair amount of SE Linux in. You know, it's funny. I don't have any of my work stuff up, but I STIG government boxes, so I put them up to a STIG compliance score of like at least 90, and I have to do SE Linux for that as well. So yeah, I do a fair amount of that in my world as well. That's always fun. So we copied that in the local config. We're going to copy in the service, so then the service will be able to start up when we restart the daemon. We reload the daemon for systemctl, and then we start it. And if we go look, Promtail will be running in our system. So Promtail's running. All the data should be flowing around the system now. So it says we've set up all the pieces. You've put Grafana on the end. You've put Loki in the middle, and now you've put Promtail on the other end. So it's Promtail to Loki to Grafana. So we can log into Grafana. Here's our Grafana instance. And what we should be able to do right here is go to our connections. It says how to do all this, by the way, right here. So connect to Grafana, create a data source on the data source page. So this is Loki. Right, boom, Loki. And I'm going to add a new data source for Loki. We'll just call it Loki. The address will be 127.001.3100. That's right there. And then we don't need authentication right now. We didn't set up any TLS or security. We're just making the lab work. And this is one of my favorite things about Grafana right here, is when you hit save and test, it'll tell you, hey buddy, we're all good. We read something. So now we're going to go, so that's good. That system's up. We're going to come here and we're going to say, give me a new dashboard. It's right here. And we're going to import a dashboard by its number. Now there's a number. You can find these. I'll show you how you find them here in a second. But this is going to be logs and apps dashboard. We're going to set the Loki data source and hit import. And now here's my system. If I look at the auth log here, I can come over here and say, let's just say 4i in, and then we'll do like a sequence of 1 to 100. Do user add -m user $i. Done. We're gonna sleep 5. Done. So that's gonna loop for 100 times, and over here we're gonna refresh every 10 seconds. We're gonna start seeing logs being sent over. They're coming from our system, going to varlog auth.log. Then they're being fed from Promtail up into Loki. And then from Loki, look at here they are. From Loki, they're being drawn out by Grafana, and now we're seeing users being created on our system. What the hell? Why are users being created on our systems? We don't make local users. That's a problem. Now we have things that we can go track on. We can alert on them. We can do all these kind of things. But right here, I have the data moving now. We have it moving from the system to its logs. I already did that. The logs are being picked up by Promtail, pushed to Loki. Loki is being queried by Grafana, and here every 10 seconds it's going to give us, you know, however, 2 more or whatever it's doing. Hey Jim, over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Yeah, Harold Pulcher's great, man. I try to raid him every chance I get because he does really good stuff. I mean, he's a Microsoft guy, but we're not going to fault him for that because he is a Microsoft MVP. But yeah, if you guys on the Twitch side don't follow Harold, he does really cool, he does little bot labs. He makes little bot labs. So he is a Microsoft guy, but we don't fault him for that because he does a lot of cool stuff. And he uses Linux. And he does. I think I've seen him a lot of C programming, and I think I've even seen him bust out some programmable logic controllers. So that's pretty good, like down in like Arduino and stuff. So he's doing some pretty cool stuff over there. So if you guys are like science and technology guys, not just like heavy duty Linux guys, his stuff's really cool. So yeah. So Jim over there, yep. Hopefully this stuff's useful. We are in this lab. We do labs all Sunday morning. In this lab, we just built out and proved that we could see data flowing, right? The data are flowing all the way through the system. Look, we're up on 23, now we're on 25, and I see the logs being written into the system. What I want to do with those logs later and what I want to kind of see is up to you, right? Like what do you want to see? In my home lab, let me show you guys what I do in my home lab. Hold on. I'll show you this here. In my home lab, we have these logs, and all I see is just the users trying to log in. I have all these root users. I can actually go down to just the root users, and I can just see what's kind of going on here. And you can see now that people are failing to authenticate root, but why are they failing? Because I don't allow a UID to log into my system if it's under 1,000. So you can't log in to my system. So there's all the failures in there, right? And we can move back and just look at failed, and we don't see why it failed anymore, but we see all the failed root users. Root can't log into my systems. It doesn't have the ability. Oh, failed. Capital F. It is upper and lowercase sensitive. So there's our uppercase failed. And I see all these other users. They're trying to get in deploy and test and Ubuntu and Deer and support and PI and Ubuntu. That's a very common one. Telecom admin. And I just kind of keep track of all these. I have logs of where everybody's logged in. One of these days I'm going to turn it into a little Grafana dashboard with like a geo map, because I have that all set up. I just haven't put all the pieces through. So anyway, so that's our dashboard. Our system's up, and then if we hit check here, it'll say, look at you learning Linux configurations. You created a log monitor solution with Grafana, Loki, and Promtail. You created a dashboard to visualize your logs. So we're almost an hour in, and what we started with, if I stop this, hit Control C, I do a history. All we started with in this lab was just a bunch of like basic Linux stuff. I was just showing you guys around as if you're a beginner user that's never touched the system. And then you're like, yeah, I was simulating the generation of those users, Jim, over here. In my home lab, these are real users. These are real attempted logins into my home lab right now. In the last 6 hours, in fact, in the last, well, this is a while ago. What the heck's going on here? Nobody's tried to log in for almost 20 minutes, which is weird. But yeah, the last failed user was the invalid user, and I have their IP addresses. I know, where they're coming from. And we actually had this discussion yesterday because I was talking about my doctoral dissertation is on, I'm getting a degree in, it's a doctorate of business administration in quantitative analytics, and the quantitative analytics the quantitative study I'm generating is about users. Well, it's about security teams and the efficacy of things that they do. So where I'm going with that, oh look, there's somebody just tried to log in right now, 8:51. But anyways, it's and we were talking yesterday about how just because I have this IP address, I know that somebody just tried to log into my system from 213.109.202.127. I can't do anything about that. There's no stand your ground law in cybersecurity. Nowhere. I am not allowed to attack this person back. And because of that, what are your options in like the systems engineering? So if you guys have ever done security engineering, what are your options? Well, we can pretend like we're red team. I used to run red teams, right? I ran red teams for AAA. We do all kinds of stuff, but how effective is that? How effective is it to give somebody a whole bunch of rules of engagement and say, you can go like that? Like you can go to this fence that I just built and you can go like this and you can push on just this one little part of the fence. But if it starts to give, don't do anything to it. Like, then that's my point is like, in the industry, and I've read, hundreds of articles now about this, and that's what you do in your dissertation is just read a bunch of crap, do literature reviews and stuff. There is so much stuff about what you can do as a security engineer, but there's very little about what you should do. Like, and as like a manager of a team, you take over a team, and it's like, what are we doing, guys? Oh, we're just doing all the stuff we always did, and everybody's looking busy, but nobody's actually catching anybody. So it's kind of interesting. John Strand's active countermeasures, interesting. Yeah, I might have to check it out. I am in the business right now of just kind of reading everything, but yeah, like. But even then, it's like I guarantee nothing he shows. I can guarantee you right now. I've never read anything. I know who John Strand is, but I know nothing else about it. I can guarantee you nothing is connect back, because it can't be. You're not allowed. You're immediately breaking the law, right? So it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting position to be in where it's like a non-aggressive. It's a non-aggressive non-starter to attack anybody back. But again, I don't even know who this is. 213, 109, 202, 127. It's probably some compromised grandma's machine in Kansas, anyways. So they're just as much a victim too. They're just a launching point. Because when you look at like a lot of the people that attack this, and I go and I have an automated script that goes and tags where all these are coming from. A fair number of them are from China and Eastern Europe, but a fair number of them are probably like, let's say 60%. And then of that other 40% that are left over, a good amount of those come from America. Probably just compromised machines in the Midwest, if I had to guess. You know, well, all over, but I'm talking about like some grandma that's just retired and has her AOL hooked up still, you know. Archie said, my problem with job hunting is I have no experience with stuff like Azure or AWS, and most of the jobs I'm otherwise qualified for are stopped by that, as it is often a hard requirement. How do I do those? How can I do those without income? Well, Archie, I can tell you, let me show you a couple of things. For people, especially people that are newer around here. We've obviously got the talks coming up. I want to let you guys know, I know I'm hammering that. We got talks next weekend from all kinds of people. They're just going to be down in Discord. But for people that are kind of looking, the question was from Archie, like, I'm looking to get into the industry, what do I do? Well, we got this beginner section here where we obviously have Linux stuff, but some of you know Linux pretty well already. But you come down here and you just need to like pump up a resume. Here's a bunch of free certs you can get. These are free cert. None of these cost anything right here. And the training is free too, right here. So you want to get some API stuff, apiacademy.co. They have 3 different like little 6-hour trainings, and then you take a little test at the end. They tell you the test is open book. We've got a study guide. If you go look up API in our Discord, you'll find our study guide for it. And then you just got 3 little certs, little PDFs, and you can link them up on your LinkedIn and put them on your resume, and boom, you got something. Chaos engineering. You want to be a site reliability engineer? This is huge. It's free from Gremlin. One of our guys just took it last month and passed it again. We all did it like 2 years ago, a bunch of us. I want to say like maybe like 15 of us down the Discord did it for fun. Michael Pessa told us about it, so we did it. So that's a thing, free. Get it on your resume. These are more just generic engineering and process management stuff, but there's a good, Six Sigma White Belt and Lean Six Sigma White Belt are both free certs. You can take the test free. You can get all the study material for free. That's good. IPv6, like you get tired of like not knowing how IPv6 works. These guys over at he.net, these dudes, they put together their Hurricane Electric. They've got connections and pipes all over the world for data. They'll teach you all this stuff right here. And then they'll send you a shirt and a cert for free. I don't know if they still send the shirt. One of our guys has the cert. One of the guys has the shirt, and like maybe like 10 of our guys pass the cert. But you just go and you do all their study, and they give you domains and stuff. And but that'll get you. IPv6 looks good because it's always rolling out, right? And then what's this last one? Well, there's other data certs that are out there, but certified in cybersecurity by ISC Squared. They have not hit 1 million yet, so it's still free to go take that test. And the training's free. So ISC Squared is the same one for like my CISSP and my CCSP. You know, I held both of those certs, and I try to represent that group well, you know, as one of their certified cybersecurity guys. But they've got free certs out there. So these are all free. Every one of those. There's probably more of them out there, but those are ones that I kind of know about or have done in my career. All right. So we're talking. We did the lab. The lab is good. Look at you learning Linux configurations. You create a log monitoring solution with Grafana, Loki, and Promtail. The visualization of that log is right. Let me show you guys this. With our projects section, I have in our project section, I have this monitoring deep dive project guide. I'm not gonna pull this one down. I'm gonna open up mine here. So give me a second. Go to my presentations, and we're not doing this one right now, but this mirrors the labs we're doing. The project guide is for you to go through. Hold on. You can go through and you can do these 3 labs that I have right here. You can go watch. We got a YouTube video on it too. And this guide is for you to answer questions and kind of journal your notes as you do it and throw in examples. And then you can have this as like a project that shows that you know how to, you've done all these things and you know how to monitor Linux systems. These are like the labs on it and stuff. So I have a whole, I think I have like a 2.5 hour, maybe even 3 hour YouTube video on that. That's out there for people that want that. Okay. Yeah, Jim, thanks for coming by. Hopefully this stuff's useful. Doc Mallet, yeah, there's stuff that you can do. Yeah, and Doc, the other thing too is, yeah, you can go and slow people down with honeypots and honey nets. In fact, that's a big part of what the research I've been doing is on. But even then, it's like, it's almost like what's the point? Like if you look at like what the cloud, so cloud probably, if I had to guess, between AWS and Azure and Google, they probably deal with more clients that are using their systems and then dealing with cybersecurity attacks than, I would say, between those three, than probably all the rest of the industry combined. And I would say, like, because other companies just get the reports of like, oh, my Fortinet device is getting, whatever, like, but it's something that was bought by a customer and then used. Well, where I'm going with that is, what do they do? Like, what's their solution? And Wildfire, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Thanks for the Prime subscription. The users here, I'm trying to think. So those guys, what do? They tell you lock all the doors tight and use a SOAR, right? A security orchestration and remediation tool. They've got tools that are built to do this stuff, but they want people like sit on guard duty. Guard duty is an AWS tool, and listen to what's going on and automate responses and do all these kind of things. So there's like, there's just a lot of stuff going on, and that's what I want to kind of research is like, what we've got all these things we can do, but what are the things that we should be doing? And that's probably what my research is going to turn into. So it might, I don't know how groundbreaking it'll be, but I can assure you with inductive reasoning from watching the industry for 20 years, I don't think people are doing it right. So maybe I propose a different way to do it, if that makes sense. Semifriend, Q on the last thing. Would you agree that most kinds of hacking back is low utility? Like you mentioned, there are machines are either already compromised or friendly VPCs. Thoughts on when actions like that are useful? In most cases, I think it's kind of counterproductive. Yeah, well, Semifriend, I will tell you that anything you do back is already illegal. As soon as you send the connection back with ill intent, it's illegal. There's no, you can go look it up, and I actually, this was in a thing that I wrote the other day. There's like 27 in the US, there's like 27 stand your ground states, and in all 50 states you're allowed to defend yourself. Like if you come and you grab me by the shirt and you're like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, and I'm like, I can defend myself, I'm allowed to. But if you do that to me in the cybersecurity sense, like I see you attack, like if I see all these people attacking me right now, I am literally not allowed to do anything back. I can't even start to ping sweep those without it being illegal, right? Like that's my point, is like there's no, and so since that's the case, right? Since we know we can only play defense, what do? We red team, where we and red. I'm telling you, red teaming is like, if none of you guys have ever run a red team, let me tell you what it looks like. What about cybersecurity companies? Yeah, here's how a cybersecurity engagement, if let's say you're a red team company that just comes in and does engagements of pen testing. We call them pen testing. And if you're internal, like I was, I ran the red team at AAA. When we get a new app coming up, right, and we do our SAST testing on it. SAST is your static application security testing. Basically look through the code, make sure there's no dumb log4j shit and that kind of stuff. That's almost always automatic testing. Then we do DAST testing, which is dynamic application security testing, which is, well, Jen, given, yeah, it's true that it's not illegal if they don't find you, but anymore nowadays, it's just, I mean, like most of you guys all know that like there's no anonymity on the internet. Your ISP is providing everything, so they know where you're going. And even if you use Tor or something, once Tor got to 60% of the endpoints run by the U.S. government, it wasn't secure anymore either. No logs, no crime. Fair. Which is, by the way, why I have these logs being sent off in real time. Even if you compromised my P01 Jumpo 1 box, even if you compromised this box and managed to delete all the logs, I would still have them already sent off to my other servers. So then you'd have to go find where that is in my network. I don't believe in privacy as a home user anymore. Yeah, Isobu, it's definitely hard. And by the way, I don't know how many of you guys like keep your phones around when you're like talking to family or whatever. VM under Tor, under VPN. Yeah, Jen, I'll tell you, the U.S. government controls more than 60% of the Onion router, which is what Tor is for you guys, which is every end node doesn't keep logs, but they have enough that they can keep track of everything. They've compromised it. I think that's one of the reasons, and Anonymous has been like mostly quiet the last few years, is I think they got told to stop because I'm pretty sure they're all enumerated. People know who all those guys are. Okay. Anyways, we're not talking. I mean, we can talk cybersecurity, but that's this right here is a big part of like what my doctorate's on. And I know people are always interested in the cybersecurity part of it, but I really just want you guys to be good at like these basic things, because understanding how to set up logs, there's some good value out there. Like I don't have time for it, but you could learn how to do these tools and learn how to do these things with like logging and monitoring and stuff. And you could start a company where you just go and build that up, point people's stuff up to Grafana, a free Grafana cloud instance, and tell them, hey, as long as you're under 50 machines, this will always work for you, and just build them a couple dashboards and all that. How's it going, Henry Q? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I always like people that come in from Brazil. Somebody said something in Portuguese yesterday, and I didn't know it. And it's funny because I know Boa, Combate, Parou, and what else do I know in Brazilian, in Portuguese? Boa, Combate, and Parou. Those are like the only ones I know, and it's because I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 20 years. That's it. That's the reason I know any Portuguese at all. Aren't going to defend you if you're committing a crime. Yeah, that's fair. True. Yasker, they're not going to help you any. I don't know what Waza is. Is that like a tool? Vulnerability. Yeah, so this is just you scanning your own stuff, Archie. But where I was going with that is, like, we're talking about all these things. So we've got our static application security testing, our dynamic, and then we have pen tests, right? And what pen tests are we sit down for weeks and we're like, all right, we've got all these things. And they're like, well, can we hit these external? And we go, no, you can't. Those are off limits. And they're like, all right. And you're like, well, but you can hit these domains. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll hit those domains. But if we find something open, can we kind of push on it? And you're like, no, we don't want to take it down. It's prod. And they're like, all right, we won't take it down. And then you like back off all of these things that like some bot or some actual person is just going to crush. They're just going to steamroll over the top of it. So I've always been a fan. If you're going to do red teaming, just fucking take it down. And I know people don't like that. They're like, oh, you can't take down our prod. And you're like, well, then what's the point of the test? Like, if we're gonna do like entry into a building or something, right? And I did this a lot in the infantry. We're gonna do entry into a building, and then we're not gonna have like a way to prove that we actually got the round off. We're just gonna go bang, 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 bang. You're dead, like we did when we were kids. Anybody ever seen some kids with little toy guns going bang, bang, bang? You're dead. Guess what? Nobody ever thinks the other person got them. So it's the same thing. Like my point is, it's like we're playing instead of being serious cybersecurity people. But it's because there's all these enumerated techniques, but what's the efficacy of them? What are they doing? Anyways, all right. Done with that. I'm supposed to be doing labs today, not talking about stuff. All right, so there's all this. Remember, you guys can get up here to, there's all these free events coming up next weekend. Everything that we do on Discord is free, but we've got, a whole bunch of talks. Go find a talk that looks interesting to you and that you can make. They're going all day next weekend. So hopefully that stuff is good and useful to you guys. All right. My lab has died, but we finished the lab, so that's good. Use proxy chains and burn your SSD. Homemade anonymity. I guess that's possible, but we're typically like some big, a lot of times we're doing this stuff for like a big organization that has its established ISPs and its established web properties, and it's not going anywhere, I mean, anyway, so it's just something to think about. Cool, we're sitting in a hotel in Vegas with nothing to do. Yeah, Yasker, I don't know if you know, but we got a lot of guys going to DEF CON this year, so. Archie developer, I'm not even sure about Proton, but I can guarantee you anything that you connect to like an ISP is already being tracked and traced, so you're probably not really getting anything. And we have, so at the end of the day, there tends to be two types of like IPsec VPNs that are used. You'll be there for 12 days. Nice. I've got of quite a few guys I know that are going out there. I'm not going to DEF CON this year. I'm building high performance compute systems. That's all I've been doing the last few days. But I've been mostly stigging them with security compliance and stuff. Also, thanks for the follows, guys. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I'm not trying to miss you guys over on YouTube, but I haven't looked over there for a while. But yeah, logs, and hello. Is that Manendra? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Let's do the next lab. So the next lab is going to be after the Linux logs. Let's go look at some more stuff that we can do. So I'm going to unpin these labs, and I'm going to pin the next lab, which is going to be Prometheus. And Prometheus has some really kind of useful, interesting things to go study. There's some certifications on it. I'm working on getting, I'm going to get my PCA certification. I did that on purpose on the YouTube side, guys. I know you probably think I'm insane, but I did put that S there on purpose because their UI is so stupid over there. You have to move it up to be able to, and I wasn't going to wait for somebody to talk. So, all right, manually unpin. So there's our lab. Here's what we're doing. And this one says, your team has determined they need to monitor telemetry in your environment. You know that Grafana can do that as a visualization tool, so you plan to deploy it on the server as a daemon. You know what? Well, I'll fix it here in a little bit. This is Ubuntu right here, Jazzmaniac. The distro here in the labs that you guys are using is Ubuntu. In my home lab environment, I run everything from, CentOS 7, I have CentOS 8, they're dead. I have SLES, I have Ubuntu 18, but I'm getting rid of that. I've got Ubuntu 22, and then I've got Rocky. I've been running a lot of Rocky Linux because Werewolf runs pretty well on that, and I've got a whole lab environment up there. I think it's nodes show. I can never nodes list. I always get these ones mixed up. So there's my nodes out here, and then so we can see all of the stuff about this and how this node is set up and its security and stuff. And then the cool thing about Rocky, well, not even Rocky, but the cool thing about Werewolf is all of my servers that are sitting out here are just container overlays that get applied to the server when the server comes up. So the server is an ephemeral box. It's like a stateless image that just comes up each time. So that's my yeah, Rocky is basically, so when CentOS died, two teams picked it up. Alma Linux went one way and Rocky Linux went the other way. Rocky is technically owned by CIQ, whoever that guy is that started CIQ a while back. But Rocky, so look, if you go look at them as an organization, CIQ.com. They run, if you go look at them, they run all the Rocky Linux. Here's their products. They do Rocky Linux, Ascender, Aptainer, Singularity, Fuzzball, CIQ Bridge, and Werewolf. The major ones that I know about are Rocky Linux and Werewolf. What's your opinion about the BSD family? Have you used them a lot in production? URFOM, I've in production, like government systems and not, well, let's just say in production in general. I've used Red Hat 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've used Rocky 8 and 9. I've used CentOS at all, CentOS 5, 6, and 7. I've never used Ubuntu in prod, but I have tested it before in environments. And I've used a lot of SLES, a fair amount of SLES in my time. Gover, commercial, both. Yourform. I do a fair amount of government and commercial projects depending on what I'm doing. Like, I was talking about this the other day. One of the things, so I work for a company, Redline. I've told you guys all this. Redline's you can go look them up. We got, I don't know, like 80, 90 employees, I think. We're not a big company. But they use me I do two things for the company. I go out and I embed with companies for, a year or more on projects. And then I also get called in to do like these little project deployments. That's what I'm doing right now, where I go and I do different things. And I'm kind of like, I don't know how to say this without like it being kind of like what most people would call Chad, but I'm kind of like a closer. Like I'm the guy who like finishes stuff up. Like they use me to like get everything the way it needs to before it closes out and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of Rocky Linux lately, and then I've been using quite a fair amount of Werewolf, so that's why I built it in the home lab. So it's kind of there. Yeah, the finisher. All right, let's do some labs. This first part of the lab looks just like the other part, so if any of you guys want to do this with me, it's pinned, and it's your team has determined they need to monitor telemetry in your environment. Telemetry is just data at a distance. Metrics are measures of a thing. CPU, 70%. CPU, certain amount of load. All those things are numeric measurements of things. That's what we use with metrics. It's fact. It's one of the reasons you really shouldn't argue with people online. I'll explain that in a second, but let's get this going. We'll get this. We'll start it running. And what I mean by that is, when we talk about like metrics, we're like, well, this is how we're going to measure a thing. And when people argue, almost universally, and if you ever take like a debate class or get on a debate team, you'll run into this. What you have to do is you have to pin down what we're going to be talking about. It can't just be, well, we're talking about, I say some position, and then you go to like a Mott and Bailey strategy where you start attacking that position, and then when I come back to attack that, you jump back to some other position. Like that's we can't have that. We call that like moving the goalposts or Mott and Bailey. And we're not talking arguments here, but my point is, you don't. It's the same thing with metrics and whatever. Is if I'm going to be talking about all this over here and you're going to be talking about this all over here, we're never going to come to an agreement. In the engineering space, if I think these things are important, but the problem's over here generating these metrics, but I'm over here looking at disk, but it's actually in memory and CPU, I'm never going to get to the right answer, if that kind of makes sense. It goes back to like our troubleshooting stuff. Let's install Grafana and get it running while we're talking here. Everything should come up, and then we'll restart the daemon and start the service. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll make sure that it's running on port 3000 and get everything going. So, give it a second. Takes a little bit of time, and then boom, starts it up. And then we go look at it and we see it's running, but it's not yet listening on those ports. And if you tried to finish the lab right now, it would fail. And the reason it fails is because it's not quite yet listening on that port. So now if you listen, there it is, it's passing. We can go in and we can go to our brand new Grafana instance that nobody's ever been on before. Brand new Grafana just popped up. This is a link that will always be right for your environment right here. If you're on like a home lab or something, then you got to go to your IP address for that machine, right? Admin, ignore Google being trying to be helpful but not, and then we're going to put in 1234567 super secure password. Lest any of you think I'm lying, that is the password I'm using. All right, and never save that password. And we've got Grafana up. Good. Don't ever set that password for real, right? But Grafana's up. So I said feel free to look around the UI. We don't have anything to set up in there yet, but we could play around in that UI if we wanted to. Your team has decided that the data for Prometheus will be exposed via Node Exporter. So the tool for Node Exporter is going to export up a bunch of information about the server. So your job is to get the Node Exporter up and running on your server. It's going to export on port 9100. So let's go build that real quick. Any chance you would have a Prometheus versus Victoria metrics time series metrics? Semifriend, I don't, but I do have a presentation out on the Discord. Let me see if I have it right here. Hold on. I have a Prometheus talk that I put together as I was studying for my PCA cert. So I can tell you all about Prometheus. This is the PCA, getting ready for the PCA test. I can tell you all about Prometheus stuff. This is up on the Discord, by the way, as well. And I have a talk on it. But I'm going to pull up some of this additional training stuff here in a little bit, because this stuff is super useful right here. Also, if you're in the Discord, this stuff is, I think it's under presentations. Down here. That was our talk yesterday. So if anybody wants the stuff we were talking, yesterday we were talking about like job boards and getting a job. and these were actual like job board requirements, and I was typing out stuff that I think was important for you to know about each of those things. Is it a project thing? Oh, here was our PCA. So here's all the links that I'm about to show you if you're down in our Discord, Prolog projects. But there's training on how this, there's a cheat sheet. I really like this cheat sheet, and it drops you into a, skip verification. It'll drop you into this, and it'll tell you if you wanted to select everything inside of Prometheus for node CPU seconds total, you can do that. And then you say, well, that's cool, but I need help. You open in Prometheus, and they give you an instance of Prometheus, and they show you the thing running. And then you say, oh, that's cool. I only want like the last 5 minutes though. And then you rerun it, and it'll give you the last 5 minutes per. So this is, man, this is like, this is probably going to be one of the biggest things. Look at all these. So you want to say, okay, I want to filter series by values, and then turn it into, in this case, we're saying if it's greater than, what is that, like 10 gigs or something like that, right? So node available system available bytes, and I hit this, and it'll put the query in there, and it'll tell me what it's doing. It breaks down all the stuff it's doing, and then it shows me the output. And then I can come up here and go, well, I don't want it on everything. I only want it on this dev VDA1 because that's the root, right? And so I can come here and I can filter this down. I can put something like this. So these are your filters, which go and do what's called label queries. So right here, I can say only if the mount is equal to this, do it. And now it's going to limit it to only this top one right here. Well, if I don't break it, hit enter. Boom. And now mount equals, oh, well, let's see. Maybe I did something stupid. Oh, yeah, I did do something stupid. Does anybody see the stupid thing oh gosh. Anybody see the stupid thing I did? It's mount point equals, so not mount. You got to do mount point, right? And then now mount, bytes, mount point. Oh, I put another quote in there than I need to. Yeah, boom. Now it's filtered as what we call a like a label or a scope filter down to just that mount point. So anyways, that's something I was going to show you guys, that you can go, if you just are like, hey Scott, I don't have time to set up Prometheus and mess around with it. You can go mess with this stuff right here. They'll give you all that. They'll drop you right into a Prometheus thing right here. And they've got good labs. They've got good training there. This is one of the coolest things I found for like learning this stuff. Just a little cheat sheet, and then they've got a free training, and I think they've got a paid for training, but like you can get a lot for free right here. They're giving you a lot for free. All right, so we're back in our lab. Anybody that wants to do lab, keep going. We're going to do node exporter. So node exporter, boom, CD in there. So we're in the directory that we're making for a like third-party agent on our system, right? I use opt for that most of the time if it's like a third-party tool. And then we're going to download the most recent node exporter, and we're going to clone in the Prometheus stuff. What is this? This is the node exporter config file. And then we'll go and check everything and see if we can start it. Let's see. Make a user for it. Oh wow, this has changed a lot since I last did the lab. I let some of our guys did pull requests and fix the lab for me. Because sometimes I make labs and they break. Here's our config. This is a systemd file. It's a service file, node exporter service. It tells you about it, and then this is all it's doing. It's calling user sbin node exporter, and then it's calling whatever options it needs to start. So we'll start it, it'll build the link, and now we should be able to go and look and see node exporter running, and then it should dump a page on us of all of the metrics. You can always query the metrics if you want. They're just key value pairs. And can you see the data is exposed? Yep. And maybe I can go in here and query, like, I don't know, grep CPU, and it'll just give me CPU info from the system. And then now I have my metric labels, so I can go query in my own Prometheus here shortly when I get Prometheus up for any of these things that are being fed over. So that's cool. And I see all these different modes of CPU that might be interesting to me. Good. So it says right here, in your research, you find that Prometheus can read telemetry data from node exporter. That's what we want. Your task will be to deploy and configure Prometheus, to pull information from the node exporter. So install it, set it all up. So this is the middle piece. User add Prometheus, cd var lib Prometheus, copy everything down, give it ownership because it needs to have ownership to start. Copy in the YAML file that I made that'll set up the service. Copy in the service, go check out the service right there, boom, and restart the daemon, get it to go, and then make sure that it's running, which it is. What exactly is Node Exporter? Node Exporter is a tool. All Node Exporter does at the end of the day, right? If I psef grep-i node, all it does is it pushes up a web page that's exposed on your system for, in this case, the node. There are many different types of exporters that are out there. There's like hundreds of them. There's like maybe like 10 official ones and then a bunch of other ones. So all it does is it squeezes up and presents the metrics on a certain port. So if I do ss-nt ulp grep for 9100, there's our node exporter sharing out those metrics, and those metrics are always in the same exact location, which was just a few right at the end of that lab right here for the 9100. And if I hit this, it'll show me all the stuff that's going to be scraped by Prometheus. There's things that are commented out that don't matter, and then there are simple key value pairs excuse me that are being read. So a key value pair, and that's going to be stored in Prometheus, which all Prometheus is when it goes to scrape things is a big all it is a time series TSDB, time series database. So we can hit Prometheus right here, and now we can be, once our Prometheus is up, should be, there we go. Now I can go do those same queries from whatever I was just looking at. Like if I go look at this and I say, well, what is the process virtual memory bytes of this system? I can go drop them in here just like in that other stuff we were looking at. There we go. So for the job Prometheus, it's this. For Prometheus node, it's this. And look, sometimes when you look at numbers, you go, well, that's a big number. Is it a big number that's good, or is it a big number that's bad? Well, all this is a number. Would this number be worse if over the last 15 minutes, right, it had a rate of increase? So I can do like a rate, right? And I can say, if the rate of that over the, we don't have 15 minutes worth of data, but now I can see if there's a rate of increase. So that's a much smaller number in a scale against the other number. But is an increasing number bad? Is it good? Is it within our key performance indicators and our so we have these things called service level agreements. Then we have service level objectives, and then we have service level indicators, SLI, SLO, and SLA. And these things kind of inform, is 625 good or bad? Ducks attacking you? Probably bad. Number of increased virtual memory bytes out of billions? Not a big deal in 15 minutes, right? Grafana influx DB. No, inside sources for this lab, it's Prometheus in the middle, querying node exporter to get data to feed over to Grafana, and Grafana's querying as well. I'll show you a graphic here in a second that shows what it looks like. But that's a good question. But let's put this all together real quick. So we've set up all the pieces. Now we got to log into Grafana and put these pieces together. So we're already in Grafana. We're going to set up a data source for Prometheus, which is a connector or a data source. And then we're going to add this 159 dashboard once that's done. So we come over here. We set up, they're called connectors or data sources, right? So I look like Prometheus. We just want Prometheus, not Alert Manager. This will pop up. We'll add a new data source. And we'll just say, hey, I want Prometheus on port 9090. Now, if you can't remember that, you say, oh, Scott, I can't remember. It's right here. 127.0.0.19090. That's the data source. So we come over here. We didn't set up any certs or anything. So once we hit save and test, it'll tell us, hey, buddy, I connected to the Prometheus API. We're good. Let's go. All right, so that's saved. Save and test at the same time. I'm going to come back up here to home, and I'm going to say, let's go ahead and make a dashboard. And by making the dashboard, we're going to import 159. All of that data that everything I just said is right here. Import the dashboard 159 to view the metric data and verify the dashboard is working. So we come back over here, Prometheus system, that's its name. We can change it. Dashboards, we'll just throw it in normal dashboards. And the data source is the Prometheus data source we just built. Import it, and there's our web page. Now, if we want it to look a little better, instead of last hour, we'll say like the last 15 minutes. And there is our system as it's coming up. Ion's taken ages to provision and give me my VPs. Oh, I've never used Ions, so I'm not sure, but that's, yeah, that sucks. You can also do, I mean, guys, you can do a fair amount of free stuff for the first year of AWS as well, if you want. Like, AWS is pretty good for that. Okay, so here's our system. Here's what's happening. Now we start to build our baseline of like, what does the system look like? Do changes? Does it get better? Does it get worse? Look for the delta. The delta is just a change. If you're used to operating at 10 of whatever things, and you make a change and now you operate at 15 of whatever things, your delta is 50%. You got 50% more things of whatever they are. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, that's relative to what the things are, right? There's a bunch of jokes on that and like stuff online about that, but like for basic systems engineering, this is it. Okay. What's our time at? 1:30. An hour and a half I've been going. It's not too bad. But yeah, there's our lab. I said earlier I'd show you guys where we get those labs. So you go to Grafana, so dashboards, grafana.com, right? Just whatever. And it'll find you the dashboards right here. That's a very specific dashboard. Hold on. We'll just go to Grafana dashboards right here. And what it'll do is it'll come up and it'll say, hey, here's a bunch of dashboards that people have made and exported as JSON. And I say, okay, well, my collector type, I don't know what my collector type is. But my data source, I do know what it is, but let's just say is Prometheus. And now these look like they're going to be in alphabetical order, but for some reason they're not. I don't know why they didn't put these in alphabetical order, but Prometheus is up here. Look at it right there. So we'll hit Prometheus, and we'll go, all right, there's like if I had Istio running, if I had some of these other things, some of these things will only work if you have the right stuff feeding data in, but they explain it to you typically in the dashboard. But I think the one that I have is, oh look, if you're doing Loki stack monitoring, you want to see how well your Loki is performing. That would be a good one. Keycloak, if you got Keycloak running. You got a black box exporter for HTTP probe. We're just running a simple node exporter. So you can go over here and look at just node exporter. And then right here, we can just click on this. What's this node exporter full? Oh, look at that. It's just some information about what node exporter is doing. And then what's the number for this one? This one is 1860. So if I copy the ID to the clipboard and I come back over here and I go, oh, that's a cool dashboard. I'll go ahead and make a new dashboard. And I just pop a new window open and I say new, import, drop that number there and load that up. Node exporter full, Prometheus data source. Let's see what this, I have no idea what this is going to look like, but maybe it'll be good. Oh, look at that. This is another way to look at our node. It updates every minute. We'll let it update every 10 seconds. And then instead of being the last 24 hours, we want to look at it for the last 15 minutes. Boom. That is another way to look at our system that, again, if you were telling me, hey, Scott, I want to get into the industry and I just don't know how to do it. And I say, well, do those labs because the labs are free. And then get that little Discord, go to the Discord right here. Go download this project, which is free. Again, it's right here. Monitoring Deep Dive Project Guide. Go do those labs. Get some cool stuff like this. Grab them. Like, you can screenshot that if you want. Cut out my talking at the bottom. Cut me out. And then you could put that in and say, hey, I built these labs out, and I understand that like this is monitoring that I built. You did build it. You built all the pieces. Yeah, you took stuff that's free online, free and open source. So is all this stuff. You didn't write Grafana yourself, right? So some people have put their dashboards out there for people to use. And then you could go and you could say, hey, look, this would be a really good start for monitoring. And then from here, we can go customize it. We can go figure out what other things we need to do. But for basic troubleshooting of a node, I know that I can go look and see kind of what's going on inside the system. And I'm telling you, when you're a systems engineer, this is what you see on a daily basis right here. Right here. Now, these things are all useful. I can see what's going on in the system. But visually, if I want to bring other teams in, if I want to be able to give this to like a network operations, like a NOC or a SOC, and let them also monitor my systems for me, and then just call out if load average goes high or something busts, or there's all kinds of things that can happen. But this is, now we've got baselines of our system. Because before, when I was talking about like a delta in a system, what if somebody comes along and they says, hey, this system's operating at a 15 of whatever, and you're like, that feels worse than it normally is, and they're like, well, can you prove what it used to be? And you're like, I can't. Then there's there's no engineering going on there. But if we have a baseline, we know what the system operates at, and somebody comes to us and says, hey, it's running at a 15 today. I don't even know what the 15 is. I just know it normally runs at a 10, and I go, well, that's 50% higher than normal. I can go and start to figure that out. I can go start to dig in. It's not just I feel like it's faster, I feel like it's slower. I have numbers. Well, I mean, most of you probably know this, but if I surprise any of you, I apologize. I don't need to see surprise Pikachu faces out there, but like, engineering is mostly numbers, right? They're just not super hard numbers. You just have to have the numbers to do the simple math on them, right? All right. Anyway, so yeah, look, you could build this. You just watched me build it. You just push some buttons and it all works. So I got to fix that other lab though, but all right. So that's that. This Prometheus stuff again is up on the system. You can go and you can hit these buttons. This is all the free practice stuff that I know of. And then if you wanted to do hands-on stuff, if you're like, hey, I want to get hands-on, there's a server build from us. This is the one we just did. There's a Docker build out in the cloud that shows you how to do this in Docker. Maybe we'll do this lab next. This would be a good lab. It's creating dashboards with Grafana, but you do it from Docker. So we can do that real quick if you guys want. And then if you're like, no, Scott, I want to run it in a home lab. Well, we've got a home lab version. Somebody made a pretty cool, I'm not unrelated to this person, but he did a really good doc prom where all you got to do is have that up and running and hit his button and it'll deploy it all for you. So you can, again, different levels of how you want to get ready. This talk is about getting ready for the Prometheus Certified Associate test. But if you just wanted to know more about Prometheus, this is also good, I think. Yeah, let's go do his lab real quick. We're done with this lab. We hit this button and it says, look at you, learning Linux configurations. You created a telemetry monitoring solution with Grafana, Prometheus, and Node Exporter. You imported a dashboard to visualize the metrics on your server. We imported two, in fact, and we did all the things. All right. So real quick, we come over here. I'm going to just drop out here so we're not in a lab. And we're just going to do his lab here real quick. I haven't been in here since I first did it, but we can put together, it says right here, in this scenario, again, this is not my lab, but I will pin it to you guys. I'll just send it over to you. I won't pin it. Unpin. So there it is on the YouTube side, and on the Twitch side, here it is. I'm not going to pin it either. So if I understand, if you were using two hosts, Node Exporter would be on the client. Inside, Node Exporter would be on both, and Prometheus would be scraping both of them, in fact. Like in my home lab, all of my nodes have Node Exporter on them. Because even the node that's running Prometheus is still a client in the sense that Node Exporter should be running on it. If that makes sense. It's just doing a scrape of other systems and itself to see how itself is doing. Yeah. Yep. That'll always be there. Yep. In my home lab, I can show you a box. So one of my things here is Prometheus based. Right here, web server. And I can go to any of my nodes. So if I care about any of the nodes in my environment, these are all the dungeon nodes here. I'll just pull them all up. And I want to see how the dungeon nodes are doing. Boom. Here they are. And yeah, that's a little hard to see because I got it kind of small. But I could probably jam this out pretty big. And then There is how my systems have been doing the last 6 hours, or maybe I get a bunch of you in for a lab, and I go here, and I go, all right, do what you're doing, and then we'll just see how they're doing. And by the way, this load looks big, but this load is not even, none of them have even gone over 2 on their load average. So their load is like not, they're basically just chilling right now. Disk space is fine. Nobody's doing anything wild with the disk space. One of the nodes is smaller than the others. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I just learned something about my disk space on my system. So yeah, so anyways, there's all this stuff. Here's my disk IOPS. So is anybody writing to the disk? And again, you say, well, are those numbers big or are those numbers small? And I say, well, it depends. Are we hitting a full utilization of anything? Are we starting to saturate? But I can come in here and look at my historical data later. I can come over here and as this, like I can look, this is my home lab, right? Oh, I can look in my home lab. I think I set my Prometheus to be 30 days. So now I can look for 30 days back. Yeah, let's do this. And I can come in and say, well, were there any high activity days in my environment? And I don't really see anything that stands out too much. CPU's always been super low. Look at that. That's super low. Disk IO, always pretty low. But some of these boxes haven't been doing anything. Right? They're not. So let's see if there's any networking going on. Networking traffic looks pretty standard. Nothing going on. Maybe some spikes on a little bit of things. UDP spikes probably when I was rebooting or going into some of these nodes. But the point is, without having the data, we are literally just looking at a black screen like this. This is all you got, guys. Just got black screen with white or green letters. And you say, is that number good or bad? And I go, I don't know. I'm a tired Linux admin and Linux engineer that just, I'm tired. I don't even know. But we could also track things instead, right? There's that. All right, so anyway, so let's do this lab. In this scenario, you'll learn how to launch Prometheus and start collecting system metrics from nodes within your system. He's got some information about Prometheus and all this stuff. You can go read about it. Good. Then he says, run Grafana and Prometheus. Clone the repository. Feel free to navigate through the code. So we're going to clone everything down. And looks like we cloned it. And then he moves into there. And then he just says, Docker compose up. It's going to build the whole thing for you. This is like, not even that hard. Just build everything. But he does say you could look at the code. So we can go look at the code and see what Docker is doing. And then when it's done, we're going to see 4 containers running. Proxy, Node Exporter, Prometheus, and Grafana. Look, he just built it all in one command. I just spent that whole lab doing what he did in one command. But this is now containerized, whereas ours was on the server, and we can go get logs and all that kind of stuff. All of these containers are ephemeral, unless we're saving their storage off somewhere. So look, everything's up. Docker PS, see everything. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys. Docker PS, everything running. I'll make that slightly smaller. There you go. Docker PS, everything's up. All our nodes. There's what the ports are that it's listening on, how long it's been up, the names of it, and it's pretty good. So now we go to next, and it says, once verified, you can access Grafana. So here's our Grafana locally. There's our login just like before. We've got to change the username and password every time. This is how it works. You might give us that. Username, admin. We can add Prometheus as a data source. So admin. And then we can set our stupid passwords, which this thing's always going to try to give. Right, make our password what we want. Now we've got Grafana up and running. Look at that. That was way faster than even my lab, but my lab was more like setting it on the system. Add Prometheus as a data source. The URL is Prometheus 9090. So we come over here. We say connections. We do Prometheus. We set this as add a new data source. And then we say Prometheus 9090, because that's what the lab said, right? And then we come down here, and when we hit save and test, Grafana will save and test for us. Ah, we did not query correctly, so there's an error. So I got to come over here. It says add Prometheus as a data source. Boom. And that's where we would go for it, but we're already in this one, so we'll just leave that. Oh, we do need to add basic auth. That was my bad. All right, where's basic auth? Right here. Basic auth. Admin. Right, that was my bad. I wasn't reading. So, and then click save and test. So that was my bad. Boom. So now we're successfully Prometheus querying. Good. Then we're going to do an import dashboard, and we're going to import dashboard from this page, and we're going to use 1860. That's the one that we used in the other one. So we'll go to the dashboard import page, and we're just going to go here, and we're going to load that. Oops. We're going to save it, and then we're going to use the Prometheus data source from earlier and hit import, and it will pull in all of our data. That's the same one that we just used on the other one. But now there's our job node exporter. Here's our host node exporter, and we see all the data coming through. Let's look for just the last 5 minutes, and it's going to already start to feed us data. Look at all this other stuff. Look at all these other things you can look at. How many processes are on the system, if any of them are blocking or waiting. That starts to become really important when you're looking at high performance compute systems, and you're sending jobs to different nodes through tools like Slurm or Platform LSF or whatever tools you're using. Look at that. Just so then we can install stress on the node and run stress, and then we can check the dashboard to see that our metrics are coming in. I don't want to look at it every 1 minute. I want it every 5 seconds. So now stress is going to run for 2 minutes on the node, sending the CPU up, spiking, and here we should start to see the CPU start to spike right here. We're going to start to see it go up higher and higher percentages. We'll just watch it for a second, but it'll go up. So yeah, this lab's pretty good. It shows kind of what's going on. And Chaco on the Twitch side, sorry I missed your follow, but hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Ah, there we go. That's a spike right there. So CPU spiking. This thing's going to keep running for a couple minutes. Right, it's still running over here. And then aside from Prometheus, you can add several more data centers and then data sources than they have it. All right, so that's the whole lab. Look at that, shooting up to 100. And it shows how busy the user is or whatever is going on. And we can just watch that. It's going to shoot up, and then we're going to watch it spike back down. So there's no high network traffic. Like we can't correlate like, hey, we're using a lot of disk space and then we're starting to spin up the CPU. There's no correlation with any of that stuff. Close this down. But we can see, is it using a lot of memory? No, it's not really using any memory. It's just kind of just spin up the CPU, and then after 2 minutes it'll stop. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here. Whoops. Back over here. And let me pull up my little hourglass. And we'll say quick break. And then more labs. All right, we'll take a quick break. I'll be right back, guys. Let's see. Let's say inside source. Inside sources, you're in charge. Until I get back. back, but still on break. So we're watching that system. I'm surprised that thing's still spinning up. We'll kill it. I don't know when that thing was going to stop running, but we'll watch it drop over here again. Now it's going to drop back down to lower CPU usage. Drop off almost immediately, in fact. Yeah, there's a CPU. That was kind of cool if you saw that drop. All right. Yep, there you go. Dropping back down. Sysload dropping down to almost nothing. You can actually see those dropping in the middle windows up here. See the system. We took the foot off the gas pedal, and the system's going to go back down to chilling here. Not doing a high load at all anymore. And then the cool thing about Grafana is you can go look at any of this. You can go, hey, how the hell did he do this? And it says, well, he did a scalar node load 1 on whatever node and job. Those are variables that are coming from up here. And then he went and he looked at times 100 divided by the count of node CPU seconds total, and then by the CPU. So yeah. He divided this by this right here. So I did. And it did what he needed. So we're just going to discard that, come back out, and then that system load should continue to drop here. That's it. That's what we were doing. Also, one of the cool things about these is they'll resize dynamically. So we come to here, we can see the system start to drop its load back down, and yep, system load's gonna be busy, not even busy anymore. And I like that this becomes at 100, the threshold goes all the way up, and then it just keeps going higher. That's kind of a good little thing to note on the system side. All right, where are we at here? We're almost at 2 hours. We normally do a few hours on Saturdays, just kind of getting people in, doing absolute beginner. This is still absolute beginner stuff. We're just going through and building things, right? We're complete beginners on the system, but we're still building things. So, and this was a lab that was put together by somebody. All right. We'll go in here, we'll check out these labs again. We'll come into our Linux labs. Got a good amount of labs here. And the last one we could do is Telegraph, but we'll hold on that one for now. Let's see if there's any ones that are interesting. We got a little bit of time. Still on break, hanging out. We'll figure out what we want to do here. Def Not Freddy. Hi, I'm curious. Have you uploaded your Prometheus presentation on Discord channel? I'm planning to pass Prometheus cert. This would help me a lot. Start. Yeah, so it is on the Discord. So if you go to Discord and you go to presentations, that exact one I was just looking at is right. Oh shoot, maybe it's not in here. Hold on. Projects? No, well, so this part of it's there. I actually haven't posted that one up yet, because I think it's because I have a couple more things to finish. But I do have all those links I was showing are here in the Prolog projects. So Def Not Freddy, I will finish this up and get this updated. I think so. I have some notes on like a couple of other things I have to finish. Like this is like 95% of the way done. We went over it before, and I think it's. All right, we'll get rid of this. We went over this a while back, but let me pull this up here. Let me move this over. Yeah, the things that I still need to update, like I think I even have some drawings on some of these that are not up to date yet. But yeah, this is, you gotta get 45 out of 60 correct, which is 75%. You get one free retake, which is good. Costs $250, but you can get it on sale. I think I bought it for $175 last month just to do it, and I haven't taken it yet, so I need to keep studying. But here's all the pieces of it, right? This is the breakdown of all the different areas, and then I just build those into an outline and then just write up stuff about each of them. That's what all of my presentations are, right? Here's the prepping. This is all the hands-on stuff, same stuff that's in there. Then observability concepts, and we come in. Yeah, these are things I need to add to. So I have a little more. Yeah, this I need to update the drawing and turn that into. I need to make that right. But the difference between tracing and spans, you pull by metrics. Spans you pull by metrics. Yeah, sorry, the stupid CC wasn't working right. Whether you push or pull, and pulling is always the preferred method because push metrics are never removed without a manual purge. So they want you to know that if they're asking you which one's preferred, it's always pull. They talk about, yeah, so this was file-based or HTTP based, and then, file-based is using node exporter to expose something. HTTP based is gonna just go and pull different data. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I've just been working on this. I haven't even looked at this in a couple of weeks. I need to get back into it because I wanted to take the test by the end of July, but I've been swamped with work. Like I've worked the last 3 weeks. I've worked 60+ hours, and you might say, really? I'm talking just my normal job. I'm not even counting in my teaching on the side and my working on my doctorate. I'm talking just my normal engineering job has been 60 hours a week. So that's the only one I actually count. So I haven't even, I'm probably going to take it sometime late August now, or even into September. But the voucher is good for a year, so it's fine. But these are definitions you need to know. You need to know that you need to standardize all your indicators. Like if you're going to do every 10 seconds, always make it every 10 seconds. Don't go changing that around. And then aggregation intervals, you should try to average over the same as well. That kind of stuff. Yeah, Harvey, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Looked into the site, looks good. Okay, good. Inside sources, no. I'm working a few 12s, but it's funny, my boss was saying, he's like, oh, you work 12 hours? That's half a day. And I'm like, you son of a... My boss, though, he's the owner of the company and the chief technology officer, so I've been working with him a lot, and he was joking around about us having, like, he's like, oh, you worked half a day today. That's pretty good. I'm like, oh, man, that's not how half a day works, boss. But then I have all these things that are, like, digging deeper. So, like, if you're talking about service level objectives, you can go look at, like, the Google books on it. So all of these are in there, and then there's some good indicators. This is a good, actually, I'm going to just link this to you guys, because this is good. Like, if you're doing systems level work, and let's say you don't want to be a site reliability engineer, but you probably are going to interface with site reliability engineers. Like, if the things you do are important to the company's going to be vested in update and making sure that they're up and doing key performance indicators to make sure that they're healthy. So you're probably going to work, even if you're not a site reliability engineer or you don't want to be a site reliability engineer, you're probably going to work with those people. So this is one of these things where I tell you all the time, like, sometimes you just want to learn how to play the game. Sometimes you just want to learn the terminology of a thing. Inside sources, I do mostly work from home, but I was working out in Chandler, which is about a 45-minute to like a 50-minute drive from me out here. I'm up in northern Glendale, which is part of Phoenix. So I was having to drive around the 101 to get down there. And I mostly work from home, probably like 95% of the time. But they're going to want me to travel. Like, I got to go do some training out in Hawaii for a week. And it's like, oh, no, don't send me to Hawaii. And the wife gets to come with me, so we're just going to hang out. Ewo on site, what's my take on the CrowdStrike stuff that happened recently? Yeah, so I try not to get too Like I try to stay technical, but I can tell you that my thoughts on it are people advocated their responsibility to control their systems. You guys always hear me talk about like how I update systems and how I control literally everything that comes into my system, and I like control it with an iron fist. Well, in this case, people were allowing some third party to just update stuff however and whenever they wanted. They didn't have to ask you to update your stuff. That's absolutely maddening. That's like so I bought a Chevy truck. I got a 2019 Chevy Colorado, right? And this thing, I remember the first time it happened, it wanted to update itself. And it's like, yeah, hey, put me somewhere and give me the okay, and I'll update myself from downloading. And if this doesn't work, I'll just be a brick and you'll have to like tow me somewhere. And I'm like, what the F? Like that pissed me off. And I didn't have an option not to do it. I could make it wait, but I didn't have an option not to actually do it. And I'm like, I don't like, I don't like that at all. But in this case, they didn't have that. They could just do it whenever they wanted. But still, it's like, man, that's wild to me. That's wild. I mean, I need to control the environments that I'm in charge of as root. If I'm the engineer, if I'm the guy, the buck stops with me, I have to control it. And that's not like some control freak thing. That's like just, well, am I in charge and do I have the keys or does somebody else have the keys? And in that case, they sold more risk than they got back. And I honestly don't know how CrowdStrike can still exist after this. Like, I don't know how they can't be sued into oblivion. But if they're still going to exist, I don't know why anybody would use them. But then again, we were just talking on stream, I think it was last night. And one of the guys was like, yeah, we just signed up for SolarWinds across the company. I'm like, SolarWinds just in 2021 had a major outage. They were compromised and they caused rampant, they had way more power than they should in people's environments. But people just, they're complacent. They just let whoever come in and there's no audit of like who's in control of stuff. And it's just, yeah, they just turn on auto update. Yeah, I can't do it. Like yeah. It's actually a STIG. There's a STIG, a Secure Technical Implementation Guideline, to update things to the newest version automatically. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's somebody who was looking at a system from like a I've never done any actual running of a system way. This is why I tell people, like, I think it's really bad when people just like find themselves in cybersecurity without ever having like done any systems work. So it happens all the time. Sentinel and next one to go. Yeah, I don't know why they did it on a Friday either. That's wild. All right. So here's all the PromQL. So I gotta give this presentation here like another probably 30 minutes to an hour before I send it anywhere, before I update it. But I will do it. But I have to start. Man, I have not even started my presentation for next week. I've thought it up. Like, I know what I'm gonna talk about, but I have not like hardened it down in any way. So I need to start working on that, because like I keep telling you guys, like there's this big event next week and all these people are talking and I'm the first one talking. So it's like I'm not even ready. I'm not even ready to talk. We'll be down in Discord for that though. That'll be all in the Discord. I want to see if we could break Discord. I mean, I know Discord can handle a lot, but I'd like to see, we're probably in like a smaller pool, and then if we jump up to a whole bunch of people in our stuff, I think it'll be interesting. So, all right. What else? I'm supposed to be doing more labs. So let's do... We have 2 new labs from the last 2 weeks, so we'll do those for fun. Do I have boost maxed out? Cypher, I don't think so. I mean, we're like boost. I think we have like 8 boosts or something. I boost the server a couple times, and a couple of the other guys do. But I don't think we're like maxed out or anything on it. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. Like, well, because like for me, like Discord's just like a free service as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm never going to do like the monetization on there or anything, any of that kind of stuff. But I know, like me, because I do whatever the equivalent down there is of Turbo. Like, you're Turbo, I'm Turbo on like the Twitch side of things, but I have whatever that is down on Discord, and then I can put like big files up and stuff too. Whereas I don't think the server can do that until it reaches a certain point. All right, let's go look at this one. This one's brand new. This is the first time. This one, we were testing it yesterday. This is the first time an engineer from our group has made a lab for us that wasn't me to start it. Normally I start the labs, and then the guys will help me to get them, like they'll test them and all that kind of stuff and make sure they're good. But this was the first time somebody had made a lab, and it wasn't me, and then I just helped them test it. So let's go look at it. It says, you're a new systems engineer for a small Linux-based tech company. You have overheard the other systems engineers are using Tmux and how awesome it is. That sounds like propaganda. You've inquired them on why they are using it, and thus have given you a sample configuration file to use and set up your own Tmux multiplexer. All right, let's go use Tmux. Most of you guys that know me know that I use screen everywhere. I've just always been a screen guy. But my understanding is screen is going away. That's my understanding. Like, I think Tmux is kind of the one that people are still using. So we're going to inspect our Tmux file, start Tmux, and then create multiple Tmux panes and windows and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm learning Tmux. I did this a couple times last night, and I was like, it's a good tool. I have it in some of my environments, and I don't use it, so maybe I'll start using it. So we're going to install Tmux, app-y install Tmux. Super easy. If it was already there, it would tell me, and now it says Tmux is set to manually installed, so it's there. And then we can go look at our file. So what's in this file? Make this just slightly smaller. And what's going on in here? So it's got this set s escape time 0. That's probably something important. It's got the history limit of 50,000 for the buffer size because it was only going to be 2,000 lines, and that's a hassle. I don't want that. I want more. That's good. It's going to increase Tmux message display duration from 750 milliseconds to 4 seconds. So instead of a third of a second, it's 4 seconds. So that's probably good. Refresh status left to right more often. So from every 15 seconds down to 5 seconds. So he gives you what you're doing in all of these things. This is a config file. This is from your home in tmux.conf. And that's a pretty straightforward file. And then it does this last little bit at the end. If prefix is CA, bind CA to send prefix. Okay, so good. So then we've checked that out. Let's just make a Tmux session. What is Tmux? Well, it's going to wrap my system and let me know that I'm now in a no-hup shell environment that I could, if I killed this machine and went home and reconnected and got back to the machine, my no-hupped environment would still be there. That's what the real value of like Tmux and screen are. If we're here, and this is my connection into my home lab, and I just kill this, I can reopen it. I can just reopen it. I can go right back into my little home box, right here, as my user. And then, like if you guys have ever done this and you've left a system and you come back and everything's gone, all the stuff I was doing is gone. But if I do a screen-ls, I'll see that I've got my streaming stuff and I've also got my work one. So here's my streaming one, screen-r, because it's detached. And I can connect to, here's the same stuff we were just doing. Those are the 3 screen sessions I was doing. Okay, this isn't a screen lab, this is a Tmux lab. But the point is it's no-hupped. The environment is like its own pane of glass, and if I drop my bash shell, I don't kill all the children. All the child processes get killed when a bash shell goes away, unless they're orphan processes. And when you set no-hup and the parent process dies of your shell, you don't lose whatever you were doing. That's the main power in my mind of Tmux or screen. So now we can look and we can see that we're in Tmux. Here's the one window. Session was just created and we're attached to it. Other people can also attach to Tmux, which is kind of cool. Good. And it says Control B is going to be how we do everything. Now, if you use screen, it's Control A for everything. Yeah, Isobu, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna play with it because some of my environments have Tmux, so I'm just gonna learn it. I gotta learn Control B instead of Control A. Like I gotta go like this with my fingers now instead of this with my fingers, right? Like Control A or Control B. So it says right here, Control B and. So Control B and then this, which is a double quote, will split the screen like this. And then Control B plus a percentage sign will split the machine this way. Use Control Space. Interesting. So you reset it, Isobu. Yeah. That's what. Well, we were seeing the bindings in the thing, so you could change it. Okay. Oh, I'll set it over top of Control A so I can just still use Control A if I want, but that's kind of cool. So now it says I can hit Control B and my arrow keys, Control B down, Control B over, and I can jump between the different windows. So that's kind of cool. So I can use Control B and then my arrow keys to jump around. That's right here. And then it says I can rename a window. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say Control B and comma and call it window. I don't know, 1, right? So now over here I'm on window 1. And then if I do Control B and go over here, I'll still be on window 1. So this is still just the window, right? You're not setting each individual thing. Now I'm gonna tell you guys something that you might not know about me, but probably makes a lot of sense if you've been around at all. I don't do any of this stuff. I'm a very vanilla guy. I do this. This is exactly how I administer systems, like whether it's 1 or 10,000, right? This right here. And then in my screen sessions, I will jump if my system will respond. It'll come up. You have an auto rename window with what you're doing. Nice. If my system would start to respond in some way, looks like my bash is just sitting here. Come on, Bash, you're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Sorry for I don't like pain. Yeah, I don't use panes. I will jump between windows like that. God damn. Like, thanks, man. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. Yeah, this is how I do things right here. I will jump through them like this, and then I will rename them. So for us, it's Control A and Shift A, right? So Control A, Shift A, and then I can say this stream is extra, right? And then now it'll say this stream is extra. So, okay, yeah. Hey, I mean, look, do whatever works for you guys. I tell you guys all the time, I am never going to prescribe what you should be doing in your security or in your productivity. I'm not one of these guys that's like, hey, you got to be doing micro like me. I think that the people that are good at doing engineering stuff are going to build stuff regardless of what tool they're in. I've seen good engineers that'll write stuff out before they do it. There's different ways to do all kinds of stuff. That's less common nowadays, but nowadays, you know, you should at least have a good notepad or something. But all right. So now I can do Control plus B and comma, and I'll get I can rename the window. And then it says that I can do Control B and C. Oops. And that'll make me a new window. Is that right? So, hold on. Control B plus C, make me a new window. And I'll do Control B and comma and call this window 2. Boom. And then now I can do Control B 0 to jump between them. Control B 1, I bet, to go to that one. Okay, so I can jump between them there. That's cool. I like that. Can I do Control B B and jump? No. Can I do Control B N? Yeah, Control B P. So I go next and previous. Yeah, inside. That's I was checking that because I've been told it's very similar to screen, and that's something that I would do often. I will jump forward or back. Uh-oh. Did I just kill the... No, I didn't kill it. I popped something up in front. But yeah, I didn't want to kill it. So we can do our sessions, and then we can do Control B and W. Oops. And then it looks like I can see all of my panes. That's an interesting view. Oh wow. Probably not one I'll use, but that's kind of cool. All right. So now we're good on that. So we check. It says Tmux session detachment, attachment killing Tmux sessions. So create some Tmux, create logs for panes and all that kind of stuff. So we'll detach, Control B D, and we're out of it. Then we'll do Tmux ls. And we'll see that with 2 windows. Tmux-A, A-T0 will get me back in there. And I can go between my windows there. Okay. Tmux kill session. We'll kill it. Tmux list sessions. We'll show my set. I don't like that. I don't like that bugs me in a systems engineering world. When something's a session and something's a sessions, I'm not a fan of that. Like, I get that they're two different things, but when you're doing a lot of stuff, just make the command the same. Kill session, list session. Or kill sessions, list sessions. Like, make it the same. And you might not agree with me, but the longer you do this, the more you're going to be like, man, I just don't want to remember when it's an S and when it's not an S on, you know, that's a hassle. All right. Anyways, maybe it worked. It might even work without it because there's probably a lot of old curmudgeons like me that do that. So, all right, we got Tmux up. We're going to make that into a log file from our home. You can also put tilde there. Logs Tmux, so that's fine. And then we'll just run something that's going to do a sleep. And then we'll do a control BD to detach. And then we can do this cat of the file. Or we can tail, I like this, tail -F on that file. We can, yeah, that's fine. Paste it like that. You could also do this. You could just do a tilde if you wanted. Where the hell is my tilde? There. That would do it as well. Right. However you want to see that. But Dev, how's it going over on the YouTube side? We're just hanging out. We're doing labs today, and I'm working on a lab that one of our. It's actually the first lab that anybody's made into our the pull requests and all that good stuff in our GitHub that I didn't start. I normally start the labs and then people will fix them for me and help out and stuff. But this was the first time somebody had just built a lab themselves, so it's pretty exciting, pretty good stuff. Like the community's growing. We're like 2,300 plus people now. I remember back in March when we were just happy to hit 1,000, and then it's just like kind of blown up since then. Unbind CB set G, prefix C, bind C to send prefix. Interesting. Is that will that do or whatever keybind? Nice. That's how you do it with space. Do I have to put? Oh, that's going to be in my my config, huh? So they have these binds at the end here, and then I should just be able to shift G O and then add something like that. Just for this, I'm just going to change this on this one. Bind a last window control. Does that look right? Something like that. All right, I'll have to play with that. Control B or R to reload the config. Interesting. So Control B plus R to reload it, and then, but after that it should be Control Shift C to make a new one, right? Maybe I'll have to play with that a little bit. But then we come down here, we can look at those, we can Tmux kill server, check, and then the lab's good. So look at you learning Linux, you use Tmux, and you did all these things, right? You run different sessions and all that good stuff. So, guys, even if, but it's funny, because to get it to fit, he just made it 0.65. Because in our labs, right? So like if you look at our labs config, hold on. If you look at our labs config, we already had a 6 for screen and a 7 for working with DNS, so he made it 6.5. That's kind of funny. But it doesn't actually matter the numbering. It used to matter the numbering, but they changed it. So now you gotta have this structure.json. So I just told him to put it here, and he did all these things himself. So all I did was help make sure it looked good when we got it deployed. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's good to have more people taking interest in kind of making the labs and and maintaining them. I don't have to be. I've told everybody this isn't the Scott show. Like my goal is to get people doing this stuff, and if we have 100 labs, that's even better than having 60. So, because we're now at, I believe, 60 total labs. Let's go look. Do a little quick math. Yep, looks like 60. Although some of them are not like 2 of them are actually just like play around sand box environment things, but we've been focusing mostly on the Linux and the Ansible labs lately. Not focused so much on these ones. Yeah, and then look, there's the pull request, the last poll yesterday. So good. Okay. What else do we have? Anybody that just got in or got in later, we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up in our Discord, free events that you guys can come and hang out with. A bunch of different engineers coming and talking about different stuff. Feel free to go hang out with them, and even if you just put it on and have it remind you, you don't lose anything, and it's free, so it doesn't cost you anything. But I want to try to pump these rookie numbers up a little bit. These are the same event right here, by the way, the one with me and the Discord turning 5. It's just a 2-day event covering topics on systems engineering, data analytics, security, and cloud deployments. So we got guys from all over the industry. I think about half of them have security clearances of some type with the government. At least 2 of us have top secret. Let me think if anybody else does. Sending might as well. I'm not sure. I know I do, and Reed does. So, all right. Anyways, there's a lot of stuff going on. You guys can go in there and mess around in the Discord if you want. All right. What did we hit? We only hit 220. So I'll probably call it here. Let's go find somebody to raid, and let's get you people that are interested. Obviously, hop down there. I might be on. Probably won't be on again later, but I might be down in Discord later, just working on stuff. So you guys are welcome to hang out if you ever see me in a channel. And IO Fault, thanks for showing up. You guys are always welcome to just kind of hang out in the channel. It looks like there's people down some of the channels talking now. People go down there and work on stuff. We also have a one-on-one channel, so if you ever just want to talk to just one person, hop down in there with them. Nobody else can jump in those channels with you, so that's kind of cool. All right, let's go to a little end of stream thing here. Let me go find somebody. Let's go find somebody to raid over on the Twitch side. Who's doing stuff? Who's out there doing stuff in the world? We'll go raid over. This is a good buddy of mine. He's not really doing nothing, but he's playing games. So we'll go raid over there and see what he's up to. And you guys don't have to follow him, but you might find your favorite streamer. Who knows? He's just playing video games and stuff. So I will talk to some of you guys later, and I will be around. Take care.